Thank you to everybody who is joining us, and welcome back to our first ever Day of Giving digital program. We're excited to close out the digital program of the day, but as we mentioned, the Day of Giving is still have a few hours left of that. But we're excited to close out this digital program with Joe and Carol. We're going to have some fun tonight, hear some great stories, and just and celebrate being Wildcats, as we were all just saying. So we hope you're at home wearing your green and gold and poured yourself a nice cocktail to celebrate happy hour with us. And in case you weren't able to join us for any of the other program highlights today, my name is Kylie Bunting. I am a 2011 NMU grad and the current digital engagement architect of alumni relations here at NMU.
Hello, and my name is Andy Hill. I'm a 2003 NMU grad and the current associate director of annual giving for the NMU Foundation. We are your hosts today and excited to wrap things up with you. Thank you all for hanging in there and joining us throughout the day. It's been very exciting to see everyone's participation. We also want to give a special thank you to our NMU Day of Giving partners. These are companies, local companies who have provided leadership and ability to inspire others to participate in Day of Giving. They are Stevenson National Bank and Trust, TV6, Morgan Stanley, Javara and Rogers Group, and the Upper Peninsula Health Plan.
And we're really excited to have you here for happy hour, but first, just a couple of logistics to go through so we can communicate with you the best way we can. We are unable to see and hear you in this webinar format, but we still want to hear from you. So please use the Q&A function for any questions or comments for Carol or Joe as we're going through tonight's program. And also use the chat function to chat with each other. Tell us what you're drinking, tell us what year you graduated, where you're tuning in from. Tell us an awesome story about how you've given back to NMU. So just have fun with it. One quick note about the chat function, though, it is defaulted to send messages to all panelists only. You're going to want to change that to all panelists and attendees. So your chat is being seen by not only us, but also everybody else who's tuning in. So make sure you do that as well.
And if you have been tuning in and watching us all day, again, thank you for joining us. It means a lot. To have you here with us and listening to the stories and the great opportunities and experiences that our students can have here at NMU because of you and because of the support that you give us. But if you missed any of our program, we will be following up with the links so you can check out each session, see the Bear Center video that we had, and other highlights that we made throughout the day.
And don't forget to continue to follow the NMU Alumni Association on social media. We will, as we have been all day, be posting updates on some of our Day of Giving milestones, some great videos, sharing some great donor and student stories with you as well. So as we close out the hours of the day, those will still be coming in strong. So make sure you're keeping up with that. Also, if you're participating, if you're wearing your green and gold, snap a picture and share it on social media using the hashtags NMU Day of Giving, NMU Grow Wild, and Cats Care. And perhaps we will post a photo of you on our social media.
And then just to do maybe a quick recap of some of the things that we want you all to be aware of. First is that we still have an unlocked gift for the Bear Center out there for $5,000. I believe we are 9 donors away. So the sort of the caveat for this gift is that if we get 25 donors today to the Bear Center, we will be unlocking a $5,000 gift. So if you haven't made your gift yet today, please consider the Bear Center. This is a great opportunity to get more gifts, more support for our friends with the Bear Center. The other one that's still out there is the match. The university, NMU, is going to be matching $10,000 to the General Scholarship Fund. So that means every dollar that's made today will be matched 1-to-1 up to $10,000. So again, this is a great way for you to give and double your support for the university. The other highlight that I wanted to mention was earlier today, we also had a $750 match for the NMU food pantry, and we met that match and we've exceeded that. But what's really amazing to announce is that our NMU students participated in day giving by using their dining dollars and sharing them back to the food pantry. And so far, our students have given back over $5,000 of their dining dollars back to the food pantry. So what that will do is that will allow dining services to purchase food items in bulk and at their discounted rate for the food pantry to help keep that stocked and those resources still accessible for our students. So I think that's just an amazing achievement, all done by our students. That's over $5,000. That's really great and a wonderful way for them to participate today.
Awesome. That's really cool. And now we are really excited to get tonight's program started with a happy hour and to welcome Dr. Joe Lubig, who is the Associate Dean of Education, Leadership, and Public Service, and Dr. Carol Johnson, who's the Dean of College of Business. So welcome. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. Yeah. Woo.
This is very exciting. I think I want to tell you that I'm a 1981 and a 1989 grad of NMU. So I also bleed green and gold.
Right on. And I'm 91 and 99. Yeah. And I had the good fortune of teaching members of Carol's family. So that was a good time for me, right? I think
Very
I remember
good.
Kylie in class a little bit too. So yeah.
I can
think I was
remember
there.
my son had Joe as I don't know if it was middle school, and he came home from school and he said, "Mom, if I could be a teacher like Mr. Lubig, I would be a teacher." And I said, you can.
Oh, thanks, Carol. See, folks, your alumni dollars help with the brainwashing. I mean, education of future generations. Sorry.
No, that's one of the really nice things about working here is getting to know all of the really great people across campus and what they do. And it's exciting. I participated in something this morning when we were talking about the semester and how it went for people. It was kind of an exchange with faculty. And actually, Joe, there was a faculty member from your area that shared what she did with the breakout rooms in Zoom that I think was really helpful.
Yeah.
So talking with other faculty and sharing with their creativity and what they do and what works in one area sometimes can really be helpful in another area. So I was really happy with that. I took all kinds of notes. I can't wait to share them with my faculty. They will love that.
No, the network, right, Carol? Like that's so important among the faculty and the students. So I think one of the things the College of Business does so well is how you've all have engaged with alumni. Like what are some things that like you really notice from alumni or how you all are reaching out to them? Like what's the advantage the College of Business has in that area? Like I'm curious to know more about that.
Well, I think it's a little bit like what happens in your area, Joe. We have alumni that go out into the real world and they have and they feel prepared and they want to give back. And so they do that in a number of ways. They do it with time, talents, and treasures. And so they mentor our students as interns. They provide employment opportunities for students. They provide input to us as a college with respect to advisory information. I noticed somebody was just on the chat, Kurt Van Wormer, and he has some great ideas with respect to supply chain and logistics that I can't wait to talk to our faculty about. And so those are the kinds of things that we're really fortunate we have those relationships with our alums. We had a family not too long ago who gave a significant amount of money that helps us fund a thing called the New Business Venture Competition. And so it's a little bit like those of you that have seen Shark Tank on TV. Students put together a business plan and they go through the whole writing of the business plan, they cost it out, and then they actually compete on a stage when we can meet face to face. Last year we did it virtually and it still worked. And we have panelists that are, some are alums, some are business people in the community, and they Shark Tank them. It's so interesting, and it's amazing what ideas these students come up with. And part of the competition is actually prizes, either in-kind prizes with maybe a CPA, a certain number of hours, or an attorney. And some of it is cash that helps them actually fund the startup of their business. So it's pretty fun, and we're really fortunate with respect to that.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've been doing kind of the same thing for us. Like the huge advantage we have through our alumni network is locally, just with all the schools we get to partner with and the nonprofits like the Children's Museum, the Lake Superior Village. So places that you would not traditionally think of as school sites for us are really valuable school sites for us, right? The Seaborg Math Science Center, which gets us connected to the MSU Extension, which it gets us connected to people, farms growing, farm to table. So it's really a neat experience for us. But having so many of our local teachers have graduated from our undergrad program or have graduated from our master's degree programs, we're constantly getting feedback and immediate revisions in our program based on what's happening in the field, which is really cool. But then the most powerful thing we have for our alumni network is when we access them to place student teachers. Like our alumni dollars help us to not directly fund tuition because we can't use it that way, but to get supplies and materials. So when we send a student teacher to Shanghai, China, to work with Dr. Athena Stanley to student teach there, like Adriana Mackey. We're able to help with some supply purchases, but then just to show that level of respect and support from our university with curriculum gifts and curriculum materials for that school site, which is huge because that gets us, endears us, not just because Adriana's killing it, right? And
Right.
Athena, another alum, is killing it. Uh, but it gets us access and it starts that conversation and it allows our faculty to take our students at the undergraduate level prior to student teaching virtually into those classroom spaces. Um, and then we're able to really, one of the things our alumni tell us in surveys and focus groups is you have to ramp up the access to more diverse school populations and connections with the professional community. So alumni, your dollars have funded so many cool things. Like, do you know we get to send every one of our teacher candidates, so 350 of them at the undergrad level who are ready for this, to a state level conference that is hosted on our campus, the Special Education Conference. And then, so everyone gets to go because our intermediate school district partners give us a discounted rate. But telling you, there are not a lot of programs that are sending every one of their teacher candidates to a state level conference where we're bringing in regional and nationally recognized folks. Or so that gets us access to special ed population, right? And people that work with students with special needs. But also we've used alumni dollars to fund purposeful visits, school site visits, all day visits to our Native American schools and to Preble High School in Green Bay and the Dan School, which is a bilingual elementary school where we have alumni teaching because we're 96% white up here, right? And so we have an obligation to make sure our candidates are interacting with diverse populations. So we do those early in the program, and your alumni dollars fund that, but then we get to stay connected with them virtually and through curriculum projects as they roll through the program. And then a lot of them are choosing to student teach in those types of schools, right? So I mean, the money's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like you give me a bag of money, I'm going to do something with it, right? But it's the access to relationships and that nice nudge for us to keep revising our curriculum to make sure that it's current and it's relevant. And again, like being able to place teacher candidates in all those networks is phenomenal. Like we had them in 9 states this semester, 56 student teachers, still with the pandemic in 9 different states. And we're struggling. We pick up the phone or drop an email and say, hey, student teacher needs to be in Texas. Can you hook us up? We know that you're teaching in Texas. Who should we call? And that's like, you know, that's 5 pings of an email and then a phone call and boom, it's done. But it's reputation. And that's, all of us who graduated from the programs. It's really powerful.
It
So
is. And it is amazing what is a classroom these days.
Yeah.
You can take a student and bring them to an environment and have a project, and they do an amazing job with it. I agree with you. We've had internships for students that are local. We've had student interns that are international, and those are exceptionally interesting. And what we try to do is then share the results of those. So it is really interesting.
Yeah.
Another thing that I was going to mention, Joe, is you mentioned how you can fund your kids to go to conferences. We're really fortunate too. We have a pretty active student groups, a whole variety of them. Eco reps. We've got the
Yeah.
PRSSA, which is the Public Relations Student Association, a group in strictly in business, Enactus, a SMIF group, and people we're big in acronyms in higher ed, but it's Student Managed Investment Fund. So kids learn in college how to manage all of these different kinds of things, and then top that off with an opportunity to go to a conference where the majority of it is funded.
Yeah.
And those alumni dollars really help with that, because that's how kids learn. That's how
Yeah.
kids network. And then they look for potential employment. We had a group that went to San Diego a year ago before COVID. There's a world, and then there's a world before COVID, and hopefully we'll have a world after COVID. But they went to San Diego, and they actually met the former president of Mexico. He was one of the
Oh,
speakers at this conference. And just what an amazing experience for these kids and the way they handled it. And so we're really fortunate. We also have faculty that kind of mentor them along the way. And
yeah.
so again, the support really helps with that. So
You
we're
know,
lucky.
well, and support's a great word to use as well.
Mhm.
Like, as you mentioned, the WBC, the world before COVID.
Yeah,
But one of the things that I know I get a lot of faculty or alumni calls right now and asking, like, what are we doing to help prepare students, to teach in different ways? And our program is solid there. I mean, you all are doing the same thing, right?
absolutely.
Is we slow down, take it step by step, but let's just kind of reframe what we're doing. And, Zoom or whatever it is just another tool. So let's learn how to use those tools. But the thing I got to say I'm really proud of is we've really looked at how we can use any of our alumni dollars or offsetting costs through alumni dollars, like to send students to Green Bay and to pay for the buses and materials and stuff. That frees up money in my budget,
Right.
right? And so one of the things that our alumni dollars have done for us, and we get really good contributions, but is I've been able to offset costs, and then we funded upper division students in our program to be tutors in our introductory courses. So we've taken um, uh, DF and withdrawal rates, we've cut those from, in some courses, from 33% to less than 1% per semester, because we're investing in upper division students to be able to be tutors. And then, we're teachers, so we do the little lie, right? Like, oh, well, Professor so-and-so said you have to attend this tutoring session, right? So that always works out well. It's just like parenting, right?
Sure.
But those alumni dollars, knowing that I'm getting a contribution over here, lets me plan up front in this other area. And so, I think an indirect benefit of those dollars is to be able to, again, free up base budget dollars. But we're retaining students. We're earlier in our program, because once we get them to methods, we have a 96% retention rate. That's awesome. But I want that, they're coming here as freshmen. We want them to stay. So it's just really neat to think about that impact, right? Like how it just keeps spinning off into other areas, and it builds momentum, and it, builds success. So that's always a good thing.
And part of our mission and we're accredited through AACSB, which is it's a pretty prestigious accreditor. Um, and engagement is important, impact is important, and our faculty, like you said, are knocking it out of the park. During COVID, for example, we had a faculty member. She approached me and she said, "I really would like to take this course from Harvard on corporate sustainability, because obviously Dr. Jess Thompson, fabulous.
Award winner, just got another national award.
I know she writes. She's amazing. And so one of the things I was able to do was help her with that workshop that she took. Now she's going to be teaching this winter an MBA course on corporate sustainability. And so again, it's one of those things you mentioned, Joe, how important it is for us as educators to be relevant, to update our curriculum. This is something in terms of the whole sustainability area that we have to address in business. What is our footprint, et cetera. So I was really happy that she did that. And now she's taking that information that she learned in that workshop, putting it right in the classroom.
So Carol, Kurt was writing, are you planning on adding new majors, or have you made revisions to existing majors that would excite the alumni out there as well as your students?
I hope so. One of the things that we're working on, and it's making its way through the approval processes. Joe, you know about CUP, which is our Committee on Undergraduate Programs. And it's good. They do a thorough review. I sat on that committee when I was a faculty member, and sometimes there's a little teeth gnashing because there's things that go on in those meetings, but they're important because faculty actually look at impact across campus. And we have a program that actually is an interdisciplinary program it's called Sustainable Business and Enterprise Creation. And it has the business side of the world, and then we're coupling that with the science side. So there's several courses from geography, chemistry, biology. We've even incorporated a couple of electives if students want to take them in the area of indoor ag. So it's going to be pretty open and pretty flexible. So that's a new program. I know that Kurt is very interested in hopefully something with supply chain, and I'm hoping I can move that in that direction. We're going to be adding a human resource management major, hopefully, if that makes it through CUP. It used to be our computer information systems is kind of moving in the direction of more business analytics, because that's what everybody does. They look at the numbers. My undergrad and my previous work experience was all in accounting. So of course, those numbers just give me a warm feeling in my little tummy there. So I can see that. But, part of it is we look at the business world today. We look at the impact of e-commerce. Yesterday was, whoa, what a huge Cyber Monday. They talk about how much money was spent. Interesting how the world has changed. You see some companies doing really well, other companies not so much. There's opportunities and advantages out there for people who look at things innovatively and creatively. So I'm not sure if that answers Kurt's question, but I'm going to be touching base with him as we move along, because I think he could be a terrific resource.
Well, you can give more detail when he does the all-encompassing gift to have the program named after him, right?
There
So
you
that'll
go.
be good.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. So yeah, we just put forward a PhD in rural leadership because our School of Education, has morphed into the School of Education Leadership and Public Service. And so we have some really cool non-traditional program targeted at adult learners. And it's applied workplace leadership, which was designed. We just brought for-profit, nonprofit business leaders in, again, several of our alumni. And for a bunch of academics, this was really difficult. We didn't argue with them. They said, this is what we want. These are the workplace skills that folks need. Build a program around this. And we
there's
did.
some great classes in there that we
Yeah.
encourage our business students to take. The assessment in the workplace, the leadership and training, those were great courses,
Yeah.
Joe.
And they're working out really well. So now we have a PhD in rural leadership that we're proposing that would bring folks in from across disciplines to really leverage what I think we all do well in the UP. I mean, this is the place where, you get a flat tire on the side of the road in the Sini stretch. You're all familiar with that. You have 7 people, pull over to stop to help you. And it's a conversation about, everybody's connected to everybody else. But this PhD program, we're really excited to have NMU as an incubator for solving rural problems and an immersion in learning around rural issues and opportunities that could be worldwide, because it would be a low residency, 2 summers for a couple weeks each summer, but then these adult learners would be situated in their workplaces and collaborating, a team of 15 of them with their professors and with community partners from around the world, like solving real problems. And that really, I think, gets to, the competition that you all lead, the programs you have in the College of Business, in Invent at NMU, the Rural Center, right? Rural Development Center. We have so many things now that have been started that we can leverage. And again, a lot of that has, connection to alumni, either through, their investment through their knowledge and or through their pocketbooks. That's awesome.
Well, and don't you think too, there isn't, there's a good relationship between the university and the community. Some schools, they have that town and gown kind of issue, and we don't have that. It's a real a relationship where we both, succeed, and we work with one another really, really well, I think.
Every
Yeah.
every interview or every Wildcat weekend or campus visit is, tell me about that. People want to know about that relationship, and the best thing I can tell them is the lines are so blurry. There's nobody's carving out turf, right? It's all about let's just help each other out, and we're smarter in a group, and let's just take that approach to things, and we could probably solve some problems. Yeah,
It's amazing how many folks do want to give back as well.
yeah, yeah.
Can I be an adjunct? I think that would be really interesting. What do you need me to do? Sit on an advisory board, and that's really helpful, because
Yeah.
there's a whole wealth of experience that can really benefit.
Yeah.
One of the things we did too with some funding that came to us was we established a thing called an executive in residence program where we bring in, and it doesn't have to be an alum, but most of them have been alums, and they come in to campus for like 2 days, and we put them in classrooms, and we do a talk to the campus community and the general public. And the last gentleman that we had here was so excited because he got to meet the dean at the time, years ago when he was a student here. It was Dr. Brian Knock, and we had lunch with Brian, and he actually, this guy pulled out, his name is Martin Heichel. He pulled out a paper that he had from a class, and Brian's writing was all over it, and Brian was just tickled pink. But he started, his talk was on the anatomy of an entrepreneur, and he said he had an idea for a cab system, like a request cab system. This was pre-Uber, for those of you that aren't familiar. It was called ZapCab. And it was really interesting because had he had the funding, he probably would have Uber today. But again, it's one of those things where he was just a little underfunded from a capitalization point of view, but
Yeah.
obviously interesting man. The risks involved in entrepreneurship, students just enjoyed it. I think we had 175 students at the public presentation. It was really neat.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Well, how about I sneak in here? I'm going to make an observation here. You put two faculty members in a Zoom call,
Sorry.
and what happens? Give them a drink, throw them in Zoom, and let's see where it goes.
Well, I started at 10 a.m. like you told me, Andrew. So I've been drinking since 10 a.m. So
Well, it was funny because Kylie and I have just sort of a set script of, so like, what if, we need to add something in here. So I think you answered all of our questions.
I think so
and,
too.
and fabulous job. But no, I thought I'd give you a little breather here. Kylie, is there any other questions in the chat that we want to make sure we get to?
Yeah, just let's switch over to something a little interesting. So this obviously has been a very an odd semester with the way things have been, with how things have been going. So can you give us your high moment and a low moment, or any possible funny stories that you have to share with us about navigating higher education in the world of COVID?
So
Joe?
yeah, I'll give you my low. My low is I might tear up here a little bit, so I'll try to compose myself. My low is the number of students who have family members or friends of family who have passed away due to COVID. I mean, or underlying conditions, and it's heartbreaking, and our students are pretty forthcoming. I mean, we're in a people field. They're honest. Are we can't fool them, and they really can't fool us. And I think that's because of the deep relationships we have. So that's my low. My high though is eh, t- you're having a bad day. I'm telling you what, man. Just it can be a college classroom, and college students are amazing. You're having a bad day. You step into a kindergarten, third grade, seventh grade, 11th grade classroom. Everything is right in the world again. Just to be the privilege I had to supervise 10 student teachers this semester and to be invited into their classrooms, and first of all, the level of trust from those schools and that cooperating teacher, and then the student teacher, because like they're getting observed. Those kids are amazing, man. Like I know, like kids are wicked smart. Adults don't have a clue. They don't work with kids. You give a bunch of seventh graders a gavel and a hunk of paper and a pen, and they'll take over the world, man. They'll write their own little constitution, and it'll be messy. There'll be some food fights, but it'll all work out. Um, but my high has been like every 2 or 3 times a week, popping in, asking to be invited into a classroom in our public school system. And it's just, these kids are hilarious, man. Like the funniest thing, I was observing a student teacher the other day, and this kid like finally clued in that there was a camera and I was watching him. So he goes into like full sportscaster mode. Yep. Here we are. Here's, Mr. O is on he's at midfield. There he is maneuvering his way through the desks there. Like, oh, he almost tripped on a number 2 pencil. That could have been, do we have the insurance for that, Johnny? I mean, he's doing like this full on play by play. And I'm like, who are you like that? Like, I think I really like you, man. Like, come to our university, right? Make me smile. So, but for me, Kylie, it's all those PK-12 students. They're phenomenal. And to have teachers who are giving them the space to play and to laugh and to grow and to be silly, that always just warms my heart. That's the good stuff. You wonder why you're getting a paycheck every couple of weeks when you get to do stuff like that. It's really neat.
I totally agree with you. I'm not in the classroom anymore because of, this job. And that is the thing I miss the most. And I always encourage my faculty, if you have situations where students are making presentations, a year-end project, please invite me.
Yeah.
And so this year I actually was invited into 2 classes, and the students just were amazing. One of the groups was an environmental campaigns class, in which they were working with 906 Recycle, um, and they had done an absolutely amazing job at this presentation, this whole campaign. It was a privilege to be there, to watch these kids, and they were so proud of the work they did because they knew they had covered all the bases the way they should have. And then it was actually the next day I was invited into a senior class in entrepreneurship, and they had business plans that they were presenting. And they actually invited in some external folks, in addition to myself. And one of them was Joe Constance from Iron Bay. And again, amazing, what the presentation that these kids gave. And it wasn't just them, chatting. They had a PowerPoint, they had numbers, they had done surveys. So they had really done a nice job. So those were absolutely the high points. The low points absolutely is dealing with the frustration, I guess, and the disappointment from a lot of the kids because they would have preferred, I believe, to spend most of the semester or the remaining semester face to face. Faculty were disappointed too, but they certainly understood from a safety perspective. Um, I think there is a teachable moment. I'm always looking for those, when kids, and faculty too, um, they would say, this is unprecedented times. What do we do? What do we do? There's no playbook. And I used to use the expression, it's like flying an airplane while building it, so to speak. And we're all doing that. And I think that's one of the things I'm really proud of the university. We took it seriously. We tried to keep everybody safe. Kylie knows this. My daughter's a professor at a school in Wisconsin, and they really didn't do half of what Northern has done for with respect to COVID response. And so I'm really proud of that. And I hope and I think our students have recognized how much people have gone overboard or done everything that they can to keep them safe and to try to make the learning experience as positive as possible, given the challenges. Sometimes bandwidth is an issue. It becomes one of those things. I had a faculty member who has 2 high school kids, a middle school kid, and a wife, and they're all on the same Wi-Fi. And so, that was a challenge. So, but you see how people overcome those. And that, I guess, is the best testament to the SISU, I guess. We're all tough and we move past that.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could describe our NMU students in 3 words, that's it, just 3 words, what would you choose? Do you want me to play some Jeopardy?
Jeopardy music.
Do the music. Do the music thing.
I think they are smart. I think they are very caring. And I think they're interested.
Awesome. I would have to agree.
Yeah, I would say
He'll have better words. Watch him.
well, they're curious, right? They're intellectually curious.
Mhm.
They're
That's
honest.
2 words.
Well, sorry. They're curious. They're honest, and they're innovative.
Yep. I agree.
One of the questions that you had kind of prepped us with was talking about support from alumni and have helped and all that kind of stuff. And I mentioned to you folks this earlier. I'm really lucky. I come from a family, actually, Joe, they were educators. My mother was a school teacher. I know. And my parents, when my dad passed, my mom established a scholarship because she really, we feel very fortunate that the education that we've received has provided us with enormous opportunities. And so there's a scholarship, and it's actually a scholarship that kind of bounces between a couple departments, and sometimes it's awarded to somebody in business. And I got a thank you note, and the student didn't know that the Stan Whitman Scholarship was my dad. And he wrote this note. He's actually going to be graduating in December with a Bachelor's of Applied Management. And it was the sweetest letter. And I actually have it here. And he talked about doing research on my dad. So he was telling me stuff I already knew about my dad, but it was really sweet. And so those kinds of things, I'm really proud that we awarded it to a recipient who really needed the help to get through college. And the applied management is for a student who had an associate degree in a technical area and then wanted to return to school and pursue a bachelor's degree. Basically, it's a upward mobility kind of thing. He was in a particular career and he needed a bachelor's in order to advance. And the scholarship that he received it helped him kind of do that. And so what a wonderful letter. I scanned it. I sent it I have 3 sisters, one of which was listening. Anyway, she and everybody read it, and we just, warms your heart to know that a positive impact. So paying it forward is one of those things that I feel extremely grateful that I could do that. And then you read letters like this and oh my God.
Yeah.
I wish, like you said, Joe, you had a bag of money you could help people with. So
Yeah. It's, Kylie, so I'll brag on, and again, I know our School of Ed programs, right? So, but there's a reputation that our current students and our alumni establish and sustain that is just, it's it's amazing. And for a university our size, our impact, and I'll just give you some examples. So we live, Carol, we live in the world of accredited programs. It's a lot of time and energy and sweat equity that goes into those. Um, and our students are aware of it, our faculty are aware of it, all of our partners are aware of it. But our School of Ed programs, like a university our size, I say so tongue in cheek, shouldn't get away with this kind of stuff. But new national standards for national accreditation, who's one of the first programs in the country, top the 10, one of 10 programs in the country they come to pilot those standards? NMU. State of Michigan wants to test pilot new curriculum for teacher ed or ed prep at any level, advanced certificate or initial. Who are they coming to? Us, right? When they're looking, people are like, hey, how can we creatively get somebody a teaching certificate and they live 500 miles away from Northern Michigan University, but we've heard so many good things about NMU. Who should we call? Well, let's call NMU School of Ed and see if they can help. Because we get the job done, right? It's the Hamilton line, right? Like Upers get the job done, right? Immigrants get the job done. But they're coming to us because of our reputation, and that's been built up, over decades. And that's not unique to our department. It's you want something done, come to NMU. And I think we're nimble. We're what our students are. We're creative, we're innovative, and we're honest. And if it's not going to work, we'll tell you. And if we can't do it, it's Macy's and Gimbels. We'll send you somewhere else who can. And that just helps us at every moment because we're sincere about it. And our students are the same way. We can send students anywhere in the world to do an internship in any of our programs because they know they're getting a high quality student. And if we're sending somebody who has a weakness, we're not going to hide it. We're going to tell them, hey, we're sending them to you because they're awesome at these things, but they need help with this thing, right? Just be honest. And I think that, again, that just gets us everywhere, right? You can't fool people. We know that, right? We're too networked to be able to fool people. So
I would agree.
Yeah, I think too, going to your point, Carol, this morning on the coffee chat, we had some NMU students who had received some scholarships join us. And that was really cool to hear from them, to hear how these scholarships have really benefited them and been able to propel their education forward. And then they talked about the things that they were going to do in the future that, they would have still gotten there, but this made it a whole lot easier for them too. So I think that hearing from them was really cool. It's at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? To see what they're doing. And that was really cool.
Well, and I think one of the things that we try to do too, again, I'm going to go back to that whole teachable moment in our college. And I know, Joe, you do it as well. And some of the other schools do too. I know nursing does. We celebrate the success. And we make a big deal about them. It's such a thrill if we can have the president, the provost, somebody join us at these events. We normally have a scholarship and awards breakfast. And again, it's one of those things, kids get to dress up. Well, they don't get to, we tell them you will dress up because your first step into the business world. And it's one of those things where, you're going to sit down, you're going to sit at a table where you may have a donor there. You may have somebody from faculty and staff sitting with you, and you learn how to act. You learn those things that we don't want them learning on a job interview. We want them to be practiced in a job interview. So those are the kinds of things that are helpful and that we have the funding to do and give those students the opportunity. We do a fall and winter social usually, and we bring in folks from the community, business folks who sit on the business advisory board. And you have to hold a cocktail table or a little plate and have a lemonade or something, and you learn how to talk to people. And it's all part of that, when you're not, when you're a grown-up and you're in the grown-up business world, and how you conduct yourself and act professionally. And so those are opportunities for students to grow. Many of our students are first gen. And so this is the first blush with higher ed. And so, that's all part of our job.
Mhm.
Teaching them how to interview, teaching them how to dress for success, dine for success. All of that is part of it. And it can be, we might be filling a void, and helping them then be successful as they move forward, because we do want them to move forward. Joe, when I do campus visits, I'm really frank. I do them. I say, one of the things that you want to do when you have parents there is that you want your kid off the payroll. And most of the time people laugh, but we mean it. I have 2 kids, and the best thing I can say is they're off the payroll. And so, they're on their own. We want them to launch, so to speak, and be successful, because there's a lot that comes with that in terms of pride, and confidence. Wouldn't you agree, Joe?
Yeah, Kylie and Andrew, I was just thinking, if I would give you one of Fritz's paychecks, if you could find this not to be true. If you went into the files of all of our teacher candidates, um, I would give you one of Fritz's paychecks if you could not find at least one positive note from a faculty member or a school site, uh, or the department head or a staff member about every one of our teacher candidates. It's one of the things I think that's really neat and was true when I went to school here was that folks are not afraid to tell you when you're doing something well.
Yep.
And I think that's just as important as saying this is what you need to work on. But again, there's this attitude that, well, how about if we leveraged your assets? What if we're not going to exaggerate or lie to you, but let's tell you what you're doing well. And, that translates for me into my teaching. It did with my middle school years at Bothwell Middle School and teaching at Marquette Senior High School in the alternative ed program. And that's something I still get to do today. I mean, the best part of my every week is Friday at 2 o'clock or 2-ish. I sit down and I commit to writing at least 5 positive handwritten notes to alumni and sending them to their schools or their homes, reminding them of what they're doing well. And it's a great way to end the week. Reminds me of what we're supposed to be doing, right? And then if I usually make a few phone calls a week and just something that I've noticed in the news or heard word of mouth, and call people and just tell them what they're doing well. And it's good. I mean, it's a really good and important thing. And setting up that little hit on Google notices, right? They come to me. I just have that little Google feature, and it's awesome. I just found out one of our alums, she's been teaching. She's 80 years old. She's still a special educator
Wasn't that
downstate.
a cool story?
Oh my
That is such
gosh.
a cool story.
I had to write her. Like I had to sit down and write her something. I was just like, who are you? This is amazing, right? Like we want to hear more about you. She doesn't need to give us anything. I mean, I would love if she did, but she's giving us hope. She's giving us longevity. She's giving us sustainability in the profession. Like that's a story that people need to hear. She's 80 years old.
Yep.
She's still teaching, right?
So cool.
That's amazing. And
That's
she's
incredible.
loving it.
Yeah, that's something too that it's so fun for me working in the alumni office and being able to see all those stories and try to share as many of those as possible. And yeah, that's the exciting part, to see where everybody is now and what they're doing, and how they still feel so connected back to NMU too. I think that that's really important. And we've heard too that recently having these digital programs has given alumni an opportunity to connect with the university in ways they never have been able to before. So in a weird way, this COVID situation has been, a slight blessing in that regard, that we're able to find new ways to connect with people and make them still feel like they're part of NMU, even if they've gone off and done, crazy, amazing things. So
Yeah.
We
we
had,
did-
sorry, excuse me. I had 3 notes forwarded to me from alums just over the Thanksgiving holiday. Faculty shared, students sharing with them, first of all, saying thank you to their faculty for what they felt they got a great education, and then updating them on their jobs. I think we forwarded them to you, Kylie,
Yeah.
in alum. But one kid got a job, kind of an internship, started with MJ Electric locally. Great job. Another young man out in Naperville, Illinois. And one of our faculty actually was from that area. So he used to talk about it in class and he said, I can't believe I'm living here. And so interesting. But these kids feel comfortable and they're grateful. And so they write back and say thanks.
Yeah. Well,
And that's, go ahead.
Steve Young typed in here, Kylie, how will COVID change the future of higher ed? I think, my opinion, Steve, my observation is, it's going to force us to be more flexible
Yeah.
and more nimble, right? I think, again, I think an advantage that NMU brings is we hire faculty and staff who are specialized in one or more areas, right? Typically one or two areas. But we also attract people in the faculty ranks who are good utility players because they understand people, they understand process, they have a good sense of humility. And again, they're intellectually curious is they want to know how to connect. So like my faculty, I'm super proud that there's a lot of things they could teach because they're willing to learn and they're willing to invest the time and energy into constantly not just re-upping their skills and content, but in how they deliver material and how they engage with other human beings across the world. And I think our global campus has done an amazing job of being forward thinking and setting up an ecosystem where we're going to be purposeful about hiring and rewarding and awarding somebody as the extended learning and continuing ed scholar. That will be a faculty member whose responsibility will be to help educate and lead. The Center for Teaching and Learning, which has, some of our alumni in there doing that important work. But I think it's about being proactive in sustaining some level of humility and not being so hell bent on this is how we're going to do it, right? And being more around the idea of these are the outcomes we want and how we get there is constantly going to be in flux. And I think once you get your head around that kind of thing, you can deliver a quality curriculum in a lot of different formats, like even people teaching completely online. The same thing holds if we had to flip back to all face-to-face. I think we're going to be better for it because we've spent the time to learn about those systems and to really reflect on them and be critiqued on them, right? So probably not a direct answer, but for me, it's all about just that sense of humility in the process of learning, right?
My college, we talked about this at the very onset, and I had 3 words, actually 4. I'll start with the 3, was survive, because we felt as though that was really important for us, and then is to revive. During this period is being open to reviving, doing some things differently, and then ultimately once we've gone through that thrive is to is thrive. So survive, revive, and thrive.
Yeah.
But then another word that we've been throwing around lately is legarity. So I'll say everybody's got to go look that up. And so it's being, the ability to respond quickly,
Yeah.
and be kind of nimble, like you said, Joe. And so we're trying to do that, but yet stay true to who we are, because again, I think authenticity is important. And that's one of the things that makes Northern, I think Northern, is that we do care, and we take the extra time. So I all those things I think are important.
Yeah.
Can I give one shameless plug?
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
I didn't get a chance to talk about it. Kurt did ask about new programs, but one of the things that we're doing in the college that I'm really excited about and really proud of, is we're trying to become a center of academic excellence for cybersecurity. And so we're pushing the envelope with respect to our application, and we're trying to move that forward. And I think, again, differentiating ourselves from other universities, we would be the only center of academic excellence north of Grand Rapids. And so if we could do that within the next year, again, I think that would be such a wonderful thing for the university. So that's my shameless plug. So thanks for letting me do that.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. All right, awesome. Well, that hour went by super fast. But we appreciate it. You know, it's really important to hear what our departments, what our programs are doing, and how alumni can help make a difference with that, alumni and donors. And it's cool because we do some really awesome stuff, and I think sometimes we don't talk about it enough. You know, I think it's like we're all, you know, in it, we're all in it and working really hard and getting things done, and we forget to pat ourselves on the back and step back, because it really is awesome. And like you said, it's all thanks to the faculty, to the students, most importantly, and then all with the help of the support from the NMU community all around. So thank you for sharing your stories and for being here with us. We really appreciate it.
It's been
Thank
a
you.
privilege. Thank you for asking. And
Yeah.
and to be able to see my friend Joe, awesome.
Right?
Right
It's
back
just
at
like
you,
having
Carol.
a little, it's just like having a little a beer with him anywhere else, right? We can
Right.
do this. We'll do it again next year.
Hey, I showered for this, man. I'm telling you what, right? So
Well, we know that was important then, right?
I'm still sitting in my office, Joe.
Yeah. Andy and Kylie, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
Thank you. It's been great to add in again that we had student stories in the morning talking about how giving is changing their lives, and it's then great to see from those who are implementing and in teaching our students how giving is shaping you know, what they're able to do. And when we encourage people to give and we try to motivate them to participate, it's not always easy to explain how giving to a university helps. It's a big organization with many different moving parts, and so this has been a wonderful time to put what higher ed is into perspective for both of your areas. And I think your stories speak well, not only to how donors can make a difference, but really how NMU is tied to our community, and really just a cog in where we're able to go in our world, and what we're able to solve, not only here locally, but globally as well. And even though the pandemic has been kind of looming, it has opened up a lot of possibilities too for not only our university in terms of rural health and moving forward with broadband, but just a different new environment for our students to learn in and challenge them. And I think one of the students, her name was Emma, she reflected on how COVID really, you know, helped her grew a lot more than she expected this year. And I thought that was just a wonderful look at where we are at, and not looking at it in a negative way, but just really like, this was a challenge and I'm going to get through it. And I think that just speaks to us as Wildcats and who we are, whether we are a true Youper or not. And again, you two have really enforced that message, and I hope the people listening in and watching just feel a strong sense of pride for the school that they're a part of, because even though we're small, we're constantly evolving and being leaders in many different areas, and giving as a way to continue to be involved in that. So there's different ways to give, as you said, Carol: time, talent, and treasure. It doesn't always have to be money, but we do want people to be involved and stay connected. And it's been a wonderful day to see people participate and stay connected at NMU.
Yeah, thanks to all our alumni who attended. Spread the
Thank you.
word. A lot of good things happening.
Yeah, thank you so much. And there's still time to give. We still have a few more hours left in the day. We don't officially close until midnight. So we have a couple of those challenges we're still really looking to achieve. I think we're 8 donors away now. I think one more came in. So 8 donors away from the Bear Center being able to unlock $10,000 for them, which if you were able to join us for the program with Jacob, that $10,000, even $25, as he mentioned, goes really far. So 10,000 would do a great deal for such an amazing center doing some really great things too. So, so check out our website, nmu.edu/day of giving. And our challenges are listed right on that page. And if you can, help us achieve some of those goals.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Everyone.